What is up, movie viewers? Dena Views and Reviews here, asking, what you watching? Today, I am watching Wicked. Now, this movie stars Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater, Bowen Yang, Marissa Tomei, Michelle Yeoh, Jeff Goldblum, Andy Neiman, Peter Dinklage, Bronwyn James, and Courtney Mae Briggs. It is written by Dana Fox and Winnie Holzman. It is directed by John M. Chu. Produced by Steven Schwartz, David Stone, Mark Platt, Dana Fox, David Nixay, Jared LeBeau, and Winnie Holzman. Well, I finally got a chance to watch Wicked. I've been waiting for a very long time to watch this particular movie. It is a musical that is kind of a precursor to the actual 1939 Wizard of Oz musical movie. Now, the one that many of us are quite familiar with. I, for one, certainly am. I grew up watching the Wizard of Oz musical annually. It was an event for us in our household, and we looked forward to seeing it yearly, even gone so far sometime as to watch it with others in the neighborhood in which I live. Sometimes we would even bring the TV outside and enjoy seeing it with the rest of the neighborhood. A precursor of sorts. This is to a movie about 87 years old. That's kind of late. Nonetheless, this particular movie / musical called Wicked focuses more on who we call the Wicked Witch of the West. And again, it is said to be loosely based on Gregory Maguire's novel called Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, which was also inspired by the original Wizard of Oz, of course. Now, I liken this movie, Wicked, to a combination of Mean Girls, Grease, and Glee. I could see a bit of all of them in this production. But who knew the Wicked Witch of the West actually had a name? And that name happens to be Elphaba Thropp. And her sister, who we only saw her feet sticking from under Dorothy's house in The Wizard of Oz. Well, the Wicked Witch of the East, her name was Nessa Rose Thropp. Now, her character can't walk, and she is in a wheelchair in this movie. So much has yet to be revealed about some of the characters. We'll just have to stay tuned. But the movie goes on to tell the story of how Elphaba was derived, as well as how she obtained the title of the Wicked Witch of the West. And it's nothing like we were led to believe. Talk about assassinating one's character. At least that is according to this movie's interpretation. And I, for one, feel quite bamboozled. I feel hoodwinked, and I was led astray about the original character. Oh, the shame of it all. Now, Cynthia Erivo stars as Elphaba in this movie, and she does a wonderful job. I think she really brought this character to life and made her so very relatable. Ariana Grande plays Galinda, or Glinda, who has proven to be the not so good witch we thought she was. Girl, good witch my foot. She was just another mean girl, a superficial, selfish, phony, shallow, privileged, rich girl character, like the ones that we see often portrayed in just about every other movie today. But I digress. Wicked gives us insight into Elphaba's, or quote, the Wicked Witch of the West, younger years, and it shows the circumstances around her conception as well as her youth, and what circumstances aided and may have played a large role in shaping the character that everyone views as wicked. Another misunderstood victim of propaganda. The movie never truly gave an explanation as to why Elphaba was born green, however. My understanding is that it will be further explained in part 2 of Wicked, which is expected to come out in November of this year. Again, we were enlightened about the two characters, and I am referring to Glinda, the good witch, and Elphabas, the so called wicked witch of the West. It's a backstory here, and it turns out to be a very interesting relationship, to say the least. One that began from the two originally being nemesis. It progresses into a seemingly wonderful friendship. Or is it? Because I still have my doubts about Glinda at this point. Her friendliness only came as a result of Elphaba getting the head mistress to include her in the program of study that she denied her originally. In fact, Glinda had purposely given her a black hat that is commonly associated with witches, with the intent of humiliating her at a huge party. It was only after Glinda was informed of Elphaba's request that she be included in the program of study that she then had a change of heart and joined her on the dance floor in this weird dance that she was doing so she wouldn't be humiliated. She was already receiving piercing, judgmental glances and laughs from the crowd, but it was soon quieted when Glinda herself took part in the dance. It was at this point that they became friends, but it still made me wonder if she would have even intervened had she not been recognized by the head mistress, who clearly had pure disdain from her from the beginning. She knew she was an airhead from the go, and is partially why she chose Elphaba as the protege. So I'm going to call them frenemies until I find out differently. Now, some of those songs that they performed to each other kind of gave off some awkward vibes now. And I'm referring to Glinda and Elphaba. Now, it kind of, sort of, maybe was sending the idea of a somewhat agenda-driven movie, if you catch my drift. But I was glad to see otherwise. Glinda just seemed to be more occupied with trying to change Elphaba and trying to make her fit in and turn her into what she wanted her to be, even going so far as to, at one point, try to improve on her looks, as if something was wrong with how she looked. Which, again, I saw nothing wrong with. And I would even question why it was so odd that she was green. Why would so many people find it amazing? With all of the weird characters is what I'm saying. Talking animals, munchkins, talking trees. I didn't get why it would have been such a big deal, even though her mom and dad were clearly not green. But it is a magical place with talking trees, talking animals, and some weird characters already. I even remember in the original Oz, there was a green man. So I found it a bit odd that she would be ridiculed for looking different in this clearly odd place with tons of odd beings around her. In spite of that, I gave this movie a 3.5 stars out of 5. I found it to be interesting. It was entertaining, and most of all, I did enjoy the theatrics. I'm not a big fan of musicals per se. I like them to a certain, I have my limits. But my favorite part of all was near the end of the movie when she is singing Defying Gravity. I had to add this to my list of favorite songs. I found it to be one of the most amazing scenes. It just made the entire movie for me. It was so dramatic, so emotional, and I just felt it was so well done. Even though the film seemed to run just a bit long for me, I can honestly say some of the musical numbers could have been completely omitted without affecting the overall awesomeness of this film. It was a big cast of characters. I can only imagine the budget for this film. But again, there were some spectacular costumes. The theatrics in this film were awesome. Really evident and noticeable was the creativity when it came to Elphaba's cape, for it just seemed to grow as she's flying through the air on her broom. It was just a magnificently done and powerful scene, and it was full of emotions for me. She appeared just majestic in her silhouette as she was flying through the sky, and I found myself cheering for her as she boldly leaves a message for that wizard and tell him and them, if they looking for her, this where you gonna find me. I just love that part. That scene was so impressive to me, and it was just the icing on the cake. The music and special effects were so well done, I think, in that scene. It was just well timed. That particular part, I just have to commend the director. They did a phenomenal job. That just allowed it to blend perfectly, delivering a very memorable and climactic ending scene. But did I mention it was my favorite part of the movie? And I am one who have a very low tolerance for long musicals, but I found myself watching just that part over and over again. I'd rewind and watch that scene so I could sing that song along with her, defying gravity. It was just stuck in my head for days. And I am told that we can expect a part 2 to this movie. It was supposedly filmed at the time of part 1. There are many details being revealed already out there, and from what I've heard and what I've read, it is going to divulge a lot of information about some of the main characters that we are familiar with and how they came to be a part of Dorothy's group. And another thing that I noticed in the film while watching this movie was when they were going over Oz, I saw Dorothy, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, Toto. They were going down the yellow brick road. I just thought that was so creative and clever how it was put into the scene. Just creativity, just exhuming from this film. We will just have to stay tuned though to Wicked Part 2 and find out who will play Dorothy, because I do hear rumors that there is a Dorothy that has already been chosen, and they're gonna redo some scenes from the Oz, and we're gonna find out about who becomes the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and who really deserves the label or the title Wicked Witch. Now Wicked is rated PG, and if you are interested in checking it out, you most certainly can, because it is currently streaming on Peacock. If you have not already, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave me your comments on what you thought of this movie, or let me know what you thought of my commentary, my review of this movie. Join me weekly for another review or movie recommendation, and I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what are you watching?